Well, hello and welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Joe Salemi with DynaSCAPE Software for our webinar one in the three-part series of 8 pillars of successful landscape companies. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule, especially in the fall here as we get ready for winter to descend upon us, to join us in this webinar series. Hello and welcome. This is Joe Salemi here with DynaSCAPE Software. Thank you for taking the time, precious time out of your busy day to join us live here for the 8 pillars of successful landscape companies. We would be remiss if we didn't say thank you. We understand just how busy you can be during the day, especially as we transition from summer work and into the fall and get ready for the coldness of winter that's about to descend upon us. So thank you so much. Today we're looking at webinar number 1 in this 3-part series. We're going to be talking all about people, culture, and customers, and it really is foundational to any landscape business, and that's what we're going to be dealing with today. A little bit about me. Hey, I'm Joe Salemi. This is my mean mug. I've been in the industry for a little over 16 years now, and just really have made a career about studying landscape companies and understanding gaps and challenges, and really have worked with DynaSCAPE over the last almost 7 years now to become one of the top software companies serving the professional landscape industry. So that's a little bit about me. On deck for today's webinar, people, culture, and customers. We're going to be talking about the landscape business leader and what the ideal leader looks like, how landscape companies can think about being people first landscape companies. And, you think about a landscape company and what they're all about, and a lot of business owners tell me that they're in the business of offering landscape services, but really they can't operate without great people. And so really it's about a people business that happens to offer services of creating beautiful, sustainable, regenerative landscapes. I'm going to talk about a win or learn philosophy, the whole notion of um, not treating a loss as a defeat, but rather as an opportunity to learn. And then one of my favorite things is how to be obsessed with your customer's experience. And when you have just phenomenal customer experience, they're going to come back and they're going to be one of your best ambassadors for you. So we're going to be talking all about that. Some housekeeping. So some of the details about the webinar series, we're looking at Tuesdays, 1 p.m. Eastern. So today, next week, the 12th, and 2 weeks after that, the 19th. Each webinar is going to be recorded. We're recording right now, and following the closeout of this afternoon's webinar, we're going to get it posted to our website, and I will personally email you a link so that you can check out the recording. And if you have any questions, definitely please ask. It's going to be my job to do my best to be able to answer your questions. I'm going to try and answer them all. There is a Q&A button that you can hit, and please type your questions in there. If I can't get to them during this live webinar, I'll definitely reply to you with an answer. So please definitely ask as many questions as you like. That's what this is all about. So the landscape business leader and what being a landscape business leader is all about. And I took this from Franklin Covey, and I think this really kind of sets the definition of what the role of a leader is really all about: inspiring trust, creating vision, executing strategy, and coach potential. So inspiring trust, being the credible leader others choose to follow, one with character and competence. So what does that mean? Okay, so first of all, you gotta be able to cross the credibility barrier, right? So that comes in as someone that first of all knows their stuff, that has the character and charisma that people want to follow, and just being there for people, creating the vision, clearly define where your team is going and how they're going to get there, setting out the roadmap of where your landscape company is going to be, and not just where we're going to be at the end of the year or the end of the season, but where we're going to be 4 or 5 years from now. What does that look like? And as an employee that's part of that company, is that something that I buy into? Can I buy into that vision? And have I been sold on that vision? So that's something that, as a leader, that you really need to get buy-in from your team to carry out. Execute on strategy, so consistently achieving results with and through others using disciplined process. So, some of the most successful landscape companies I've seen have standard operating procedures for everything that they do, from when a lead comes in, someone says, hey, I'm interested in getting some work done from you, all the way through to final invoice and report on the profitability of the work. There's standing operating procedures, or SOPs, for everything that the company does, and everybody knows that if I'm the person taking lead inquiries today, if I follow the SOPs, I'm going to be successful. So as long as everyone's on top of what the SOPs are and how to meander through them, executing on strategy is something that can be done. It's not easy. That's the thing. It's not easy sticking to process and being disciplined about it. But when you can and when you are, is when you see the real success come about. Coaching potential. I say that inspiring trust is one of the most important things. I mean, these are all important things. Coaching the potential of your people, so unleashing the ability of each person on your team to improve performance, solve problems, and grow their careers. There may be some people on your team, on some of your crews that are, more than happy doing what they're doing day in and day out. But there's a good percentage of the people in your company that want to grow and that want to do more for themselves, and they want to provide for their families, and they want to accomplish more, and they have career goals that they would like to achieve. As a leader, if you can coach their potential and bring out the best in them, then they're going to give that back to you in spades, and just evolve as a professional. And so this is something that, if you're not doing as a leader now and coaching potential, being a coach, and, it's the old sports analogy, and it comes in and again when you're talking about teams, but really it's the coach that empowers the team to deliver on winning day in and day out. Becoming an accountable leader. There's a number of things that are all around accountability, but becoming an accountable leader. Um, One of my recent favorite authors, Vince Molinaro, wrote the leadership contract, and it has 4 tenets of the leadership contract, and it's all about becoming that accountable leader. First of all, it's answering the calling through leadership. So, you're running a landscape business. You've owned and run a landscape business for years, but you ask the question: are you really leading? You're an entrepreneur. You're doing all the right things, but are you leading your team in the right way? So, first of all, answering the calling through leadership, stepping up and leading the way that your organization needs you to lead. And so, a lot of landscape companies, they really need a strong, charismatic leader to come out and set the vision and set the tone for how the company is going to operate for the season. And as we come out of the 2019 season, and pull a wrap on it, as a lot of companies are working on the last bit of jobs as we get into the first week of November here. It's all about setting the pathway for next season, and how are you going to step up and lead. So quite definitely a question to ask yourself as you kind of put the wrapper on 2019 and open up the pathway for 2020. A real tenet of becoming an accountable leader is building community. building community within your organization and building community around you to support the people in your company. So an example of this would be to um, encourage culture building. If your company is large enough to have a social committee to put on either however often you want to do it, monthly or quarterly or annual events, even like a summer mid-season barbecue where all the crews kind of gather and just have a time to celebrate the hard work that they've been doing. Building community is really important. And leadership is hard work. All these things are easy to say, but when it comes down to it, it definitely is hard work. And it's all about having those hard conversations and dealing with those difficult situations, and not shying away from it. So, first of all, answer the calling, step up, build community, and do the hard work of leadership. Effective landscape businesses, I'm just kind of going to try and paint a picture of what effective landscape business leaders look like. They live and breathe the vision of the company. It's in everything that they do. It's in muscle memory, so to speak. They are the definition of the organization's culture. They effectively set the tone for the culture. If it's a churn and burn kind of organization, then that's just going to permeate throughout the team, and turnover is going to be high. But when you have a leader that is caring and empathetic, and really listens to their people and provide the scaffolding around them, that is really a top level leader, in my opinion. So building that scaffolding around your team so that they can be effective. Maybe they need some additional training. They need to level up their skills so that your quality of work can get better. You have to look at this as not just how do I extract the best out of my people, but how can I give back to them so that they will do their absolute best for me. And it's building that scaffolding and looking at yourself as not a top-down leader, but kind of like that upside-down umbrella where you're the support for everyone in your organization. Embrace the absolute difficult conversations. Um, a leader is faced with difficult conversations each and every day. This isn't something that will ever go away. As a top level leader, that's exactly what you're going to be dealing with. And so embracing those difficult conversations, not shying away from them. I was working with a landscape business owner not too long ago who was experiencing a very toxic person in their workplace, but they had considered them someone that was invaluable to the organization and to the operations, and they felt like they couldn't talk to them about the issues and they couldn't do anything about the situation. And really what it comes down to is embracing the difficulty around getting past a mindset of not being able to do that. So, when I worked with them and gave them some ideas around how to approach this person, it really helped them turn the corner, and it was one of the better decisions that they could have made. And really, it just started with embracing the fact that difficult conversations are going to be something that is a regular part of owning and running a landscape business and being a leader, and embracing it rather than running away from it. And I mean, this is a big one. It's been something that delegating has always been a difficult part for me. But delegating and collaborating with brilliant people, and I want to highlight the delegation and collaboration piece. Uh, my idea of delegation and what I've seen a lot is, by delegating, you're picking up this pile of work and putting it on someone else's shoulders and saying, great, I'm done with it. It's now your deal. That's something that you now have to go and handle. Where really delegation is a fine line of owning the process and collaborating with the people that you need to help do that work. And so, it's always about having brilliant minds in the room. And, there's a place for low skill and high skill labor, but, the more brilliant minds you get around you, just the better things are going to work all the way around. And celebrate the wins. I don't think enough leaders celebrate the wins. They don't have to be giant wins either. They can be the small wins, and when you celebrate the small stuff, the small successes, you really start to have some fun. Take the opportunity to learn from the losses. It doesn't always have to be damn, we lost this, or we didn't win that job that we just went and presented. Take the opportunity to learn from a loss. How could you take that loss, understand, and do a debrief meeting on maybe why you didn't win a job. If you're not exactly sure, what could you have done better? How could you have turned that around, so that for next time you're armed with the knowledge to be able to uh, take what you're doing and create a win out of it. Um, Someone said this to me, and I think I read it on LinkedIn, and said, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And I tend to agree. And this is exactly one of the things that we're doing here at DynaSCAPE, and that I see landscape business owners doing all the time. Surround yourself with brilliant minds, and you'll see the success, the revenue, the quality of work just will increase exponentially. So surround yourself with brilliant minds and people that are smarter than you. Becoming a people first landscape company, and it's really thinking in terms of being a team. So set the foundation first of all. That's important. Get the right people in the right seats on the bus. You've heard that analogy quite often, are the right people in the right seats on the bus. And do you have the your ops manager, are they the right person to be doing that? Do they have the right skill set? Your crew leaders, are they the right people to be the crew leaders? In each role, it's good to take stock of who's in those roles and really understand, are they the right fit for those roles? And if they're not, you go back to those hard conversations, those hard situations as a leader, and really make some decisions to go forward, and really iron out some of those wrinkles. So get the right people in the right seats on those on the bus that you're driving. You want to be the company that attracts the right people. And I know that I'm really tuned in on the fact that coming by really good people in the landscape industry right now in North America is the #1 issue that landscape business owners are talking about. I completely understand. One of the things that you know continually I see, especially with the landscape programs in colleges and universities all across North America, a lot of enrollment's down, but the thing is, not a lot of people outside of the circle that encompasses the landscape industry see the industry as a viable career path. And so it's part of our job as a collective within the industry to go out and spread that message and to amplify that message that there is a viable career in a profession in the landscape industry. And so setting the foundation that your company is going to attract the right people, it's all about what are those things that you're doing. What are the things that you're doing to attract the right people? And it comes down to, first of all, how you're treating the people that you do have, because they're going to go and tell other people. The quality of work that you do stands on your brand, the culture within your organization. All of those things go towards being the company that attracts the right people. The small things do add up, like I had kind of had mentioned before, celebrating small victories and paying attention to the small details. It's really the cliche of the devil's in the details. Well, it's not the devil that's in the details. It's more like the detail. When you pay attention to the detail, everything else just falls in line, right? Um, think of the coach of a football team. I'm going to use a team analogy here. So for those that are not fans, don't hold it against me, but I think it's a great analogy. Yeah, Bill Belichick, the head coach of the New England Patriots, and there was a article that was written about the level of detail that goes into the operation of an NFL team. And I'm just using the Patriots as the example. But when in a recent game, I think they played the Steelers, or it might have been the Browns. Anyway, the opposing team, their players were all over the field, and they got a penalty because their team, the majority of their team, were past the yellow line on the sidelines. And there's a picture that was taken, and the Patriots, all the entire team were behind that yellow line, but the opposing team were all over the map. It was a real mess. And the analogy here, and it comes back to the point I'm trying to make, is that when everything has when everyone knows their job and everyone knows that the details that they're supposed to take care of are being done, then no matter what's happening, whether there's a great play or there's a flag that should have been thrown, the team on the members of the team on the Patriots knew what their job was and where they're supposed to be, and they didn't get called for that unorganized penalty, but their opposing team did. And so it's the small things that add up to really big. So really what I'm trying to say is uh, don't forget the details and make sure everyone knows what their job is. Uh, take time to celebrate the wins and learn from losses. So that's that's going to be a theme that we continue to go through in our webinar series, because it's really important to celebrate the wins. If you're always talking about the losses and getting down on those that aren't performing, it's hard for the motivation to come back. It's just really hard to bring back that level of motivation to get people to show up for work and to do a good job. So when you celebrate those wins, and it can be simple. Most recently, I saw a client of ours they had posted on social media during one of their monthly meetings. They had given awards away for um, the person that their salesperson. They had achieved their monthly target. They had given an award to the employee that was most representative of the company culture, and they had given a number of awards away, and it was all around living up to the standard and the quality of work that the company stands for, basically living the organization's brand promise. But what I also know about that company is when they do experience hardship and they don't win the contracts that they thought they were going to, they take the opportunity to sit down and understand why. Why did we not win that job? Or if there was an injury that took place on a job site, understanding how that injury came to be, how the accident took place, and how they could learn from it. Turning losses into learning opportunities is really a key. in all of this. So how to be a great company right from the start. And it's going to come down to, first of all, your recruiting strategies. What does that look like? What does the brand of your company look like when people, when you're going out and saying, hey, we're hiring? What are all the types of things that you're doing? What does do you have a recruiting video that you're posting on social? Is it on your website? um, I've seen a couple of really, really high profile landscape companies that have spent a fair bit of money, because producing these kinds of videos do take money, and they hired a video production company, and they shot a professional recruitment video. And watching those things, and I was ready to put my hat in the ring, because they were just that good, they were that attractive. So really setting your company out as an attractive company to work for, having a social strategy, making sure that you have a great website, because whether you're an employee or a prospective employee or a prospective customer, it's one of the first places that they're going to go and check you out before they even talk to you. So really understand what your recruiting strategies are and how you might be able to bolster those to attract the right people. Your hiring process, when you do a phone interview, um, what is the experience like for prospective employees? Thinking about the experience is really important. Some of the things that during the hiring process, um, you know calling someone by name when you talk to them on the phone, getting them to talk about some of their achievements, what they're really proud of, um, and then asking the right questions and getting them to really give you insight into who they're all about, but making sure that the experience around recruiting and hiring are just so positive, that as much time as you're going to spend trying to sell your prospective client, you want to try and sell your prospective employee to come and work for you as well. And the onboarding experience. So once you've decided to make a hiring decision and bring them on board, what does that look like on day one? Is there a uniform ready and waiting for them in their size? Is there some kind of welcome that they receive from the people in the office, or the crew that they're going to be working with? So think about all of those kinds of things and what the onboarding experience is like. We had a recent we hired a director of sales, and on his first day, when he came in, on the screen when he entered our office, it was he had a welcome with his name on it. When he showed up to his desk, there was a brand new computer. There was a shirt ready for him. Some DynaSCAPE swag. Everything was just ready to go for him, and he received such a warm welcome from his new team. You just want to make that experience a great one from day one. And the employee experience here is important, because they deliver on the brand promise of your company, and a lot of times that's the interaction that your customer is going to get on a more frequent basis than they're going to get with you as a leader. So try and think about what it's like to work at your landscape company versus owning or being the leader at your company. What is it like for someone who works on your crew? What is their experience like? And hopefully they're going to check the box with the smiley face rather than the box with the frown. Ask some of the following questions, like, how do your employees experience their workplace, from showing up in the morning to coming back at the end of the day? What is their experience like and their interaction like with the company? And are there ways that you can improve what you're doing, either in the office, in the yard, or just in general in how you can do that. So think about those kinds of questions. Have you shared your vision with your team? And when I say team, I'm talking whether it's your leadership team, ops teams, um, crew leaders, down to the great folks that work on your crews. Have you shared your vision with them? Because when I have found and have observed other landscape business owners, when they have shared their vision and their dream of um, of what they have for their landscape company with the rest of the organization, I can tell you that first of all, the morale goes way up. The motivation to help deliver on that vision just skyrockets, and all of a sudden you have someone that's invested because now they're a contributing member of that vision, and the success and the delivery of that vision is now in part on their shoulders. And you share the scorecard with your team. So I've seen some companies, they'll actually have a screen in the shop at the yard, and on there will be a couple of the jobs that the crews are working on, and it'll have actual hours versus what was estimated, and that can be a scorecard. How much material is off from one job to another, um, profitability score on one job to another. So there's a lot of different metrics that you can use to keep score. But are you sharing that scorecard with your team? You maybe don't want to share your costs. So that's completely up to you. But there are a number of things that you can share with the team to keep score, to help them keep score. Everybody wants feedback to know how they're doing, and so keeping score is really important. And keeping them in the loop of how you're doing. It's not always going to be sunshine and roses from a scorekeeping perspective, but that's okay. As long as you take the opportunity to learn to learn how to get better and to know the steps that you're going to take in order to move past some of those shortfalls, then you're gonna have a successful team no matter what. And empower your people. So there's a certain level of empowerment that you need to, as a leader of a landscape business, to give your people, whether it's the crew leader to say, if there's a change order, then um, you know use your discretion to a certain amount. If there's additional work that the client would like you to do, use your discretion. If you need to make a decision on how we're going to handle a certain job or certain work on one job versus another, then use your discretion. So empowering your people is really important. And probably one of the most powerful use of this quote from Nelson Mandela is, "I never lose, I either win or I learn." And this was the inspiration behind some of the philosophy in this webinar, is either I'm winning, or if I'm not winning, I'm learning so that I can go back and win. And what a great icon to put forward a quote like that. So that win or learn philosophy, and part of the when you win is to celebrate your wins, but there's also an opportunity to understand and learn why you won, what made the opportunity so good for you that you did win. First of all, be relentless in the pursuit of continually working to improve. That's first and foremost. Um, don't ever stop trying to improve, and whether that's professional development or just improving process, continually learn. When dealing with failure, this is a key one. When dealing with failure, don't think of it as a loss. It's a learning opportunity. It really is a learning opportunity. and going and really deconstructing a loss so that you can understand what happened, I think truly is part of that learning process. Educated bets don't always pay off, so you have to learn how to win next time. And there always is going to be a next time. In the business that you're in, there's an incredible amount of opportunity. And when you are making those educated bets, you want to be as informed as you possibly can so that you are coming away with wins. And like I said previously, when you win, you should still be learning. So understand what went into all the successes about learning. I think it's just, if you go back to that first point on being relentless in the pursuit to continually work to improve, then everything else is going to fall in line when it comes to a win or learn philosophy. And now getting into all about being obsessed with your customer's experience. And there's a number of things that going into delivering on a customer's experience, but truly be obsessed with how the customer experiences your service. Have you ever taken a deep dive and look at what the customer journey for your landscape company looks like, all the things that go into that? If you haven't, it's worth the exercise. And really the customer's experience is their holistic perception of your business. And when I say holistic, it's an all-encompassing perception of your business, because when they realize that they would like landscape work done, whether it's a design build job, backyard renovation or front yard renovation, or full master planning and build out, or maintaining their property. They go through a whole process of first not even knowing that they want that service from you, so being in a pre-contemplative state to identifying a need for that service, perhaps by you or just perhaps by a landscape company, and understanding that they are now in need of that kind of service, and going towards research. And they're going to check out your website. They're going to see if you have social media accounts, Instagram or Facebook, those being the big two, and seeing what your experience is like on those platforms. And they're going to try and get to know as much as they possibly can about your business before they even talk to you. And it's just the way it is right now, with all of the digital platforms that exist and that are available at really just fingertips away. But really, the experience is a result of every interaction the customer has with you and your company. Literally every experience is what culminates into an overall customer experience. So be obsessed with how a customer experiences you. There's a lot of contributors that go into bad experiences, and we'll take a look at a couple of them. Like when someone calls in and says, hey, I'm interested in getting some work done by you. And you say, okay, great, let's set up a meeting. But I can't come and see you for 9 weeks or 8 weeks. So long wait times, or even worse, when you make a date and set a date and time to go see them and then don't show up without any communication. That definitely contributes to bad customer experiences. Employees who don't understand the customer needs, so they show up to do the work and they don't really understand the scope of work, or what the customer had originally requested, and employees who don't understand what the customer needs is definitely a contributor. Anything that's unresolved, so you get into some work or job was done, but the customer believes that there's unresolved issues or they have questions that they just haven't got answered, all contribute to a bad experience. A service that isn't delivered, or it's delivered but the quality was way low, that all is part of going and contributing to that bad customer experience. And even worse, rude or angry employees. Setting out the corporate culture, maybe not so corporate, but the organizational culture within your landscape company. Um, the culture can help weed out rude or angry or disgruntled employees. It certainly would help surface them, but rude or angry employees is a significant contributing factor to a bad customer experience. So just a little bit on the customer journey. So when they're looking at buying services from a landscape company, they go through, first of all, identifying a need. They're going to do their research, they're going to buy, and then they're going to use your service. They're going to buy your services, and then they're going to use them. And use them in terms of, you've installed a outdoor living space in their backyard, and now they're enjoying it. And that goes back to the experience. Every time they use that, they're going to think, wow, the company that did this for me was fantastic. I'd recommend them. But identifying the need is important. And sometimes it takes people a little while to identify that they even need that kind of either service or they want that kind of work done. So the more that you can do to amplify your reach, whether it's pay-per-click advertising through Google, sponsored or promoted posts on Instagram or Facebook, you want to be where your audience is or your demographic is. And if you can be there with the right messaging, you may trigger a need, which will then help that prospect or that prospective customer go into the phase of conducting some research. And now they're going to look you up and they're going to try and understand what you're all about. And if you're going to offer, if you're going to come in with the the magic ingredients between service mix, quality, and price, they're going to buy from you and they're going to use your services. And so on a real, super high level at the 50,000 foot view is what a customer journey looks like. But we can definitely break it down into some more refined steps. Later after this webinar, if you're interested, I could definitely walk you through what that looks like. But, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about contributors to great customer experiences. And really it comes down to embedding caring and empathy as a foundation in everything that you do. Make it easy for customers to do business with you. First of all, make it easy for them to find you through the web, to be able to get in contact with you, and then make it easy for them to pay their bill. At the end of the day, a customer is defined when there is a exchange of currency for service. So make it easy for them to be able to pay you. Make sure that you understand that all touch points and interactions with a customer matter. They absolutely matter. If they send you a message, a text message, or send you an email, and you don't reply, that's a non-interaction. That's an experience that they think that contributes to their overall opinion of the company, and frankly their judgment of whether or not they would recommend you. So embedding that level of caring into all touch points, interactions, make sure that matters. Ask for feedback and keep a scorecard of that feedback. An easy thing to do to roll out in your landscape company would be a net promoter score. So after you've completed a job for a client, send them a quick email, and it's a rate your experience 1 out of 10. And so it's the idea of a net promoter score is a close-ended question. How did we do? As an example, rate it from a 1 being very low to 10 being very high. And here is a comments box that they can type in to explain if they so wish. And over the course of time, setting those out, you start to build up a net promoter score, and that at the very base level will give you an understanding of how you're doing. Some tactics to get customers for life. First of all, show up when you say you will, or communicate when you'll be there. A lot of landscape companies on an appointment will say, "Hey, I'll be there sometime between 5 and 8 Monday evening," and 5 comes and there 8 goes, and you weren't able to make it for whatever reason. A quick phone call or having someone at the office, if you have that resource available to you, to just give your prospective client or client a call to say, "Hey, you know what, the meeting that we were supposed to have is just not going to happen, or we may need to reschedule because something came up." There's much more understanding when there's communication compared to just not showing up when you say you are going to. So start by showing up when you say you will. Be respectful and courteous and thoughtful in just about every interaction. And that may not be something that people on your crew even think about, or maybe it is. It's just something that you've worked with them an incredible amount on. But if you spend time and discussing this with your crews and everyone else in your organization on how to be respectful and how to be courteous and thoughtful when they talk to your clients, that goes a long way. And in fact, it's one of the things that your clients are most often willing to refer you to other, maybe their friends or people that they know for you to get work done, is they'll talk about how good it was to deal with the crew and how good the crew was while they were at your house doing the work for you. That goes a long way, and often that's one of the top things that come up during a referral type of discussion. Having someone responsible for quality control. I know some landscape companies just aren't big enough to have, a designated quality assurance specialist or quality control specialist, but designate someone on the crew and to have one of their responsibilities is at the end of a job or the end of a visit, just to make sure that the work that you did while you were there lives up to the quality in your brand promise and that you have promised to deliver to your client. And don't sign off, don't leave until that person is satisfied with the level of quality that should be coming out of the crew. If they are, hey, move on, sign off, and away you go. But if there's something there that isn't living up to the level of quality that you provide or your brand promise, then that should be fixed, or at least make a note of it and come back and make that correction. And what clients also talk about all the time is just the simple act of saying thank you or feeling appreciated. A really nice thing to do when a job wraps up, and I'm sure that I've seen a lot of successful landscape companies go even further than this, is just take a minute and send them a written thank you card when the job is done. You could have the crew sign it. Some companies go as far as gift baskets and other things, but at its base, at the very least, sending a written thank you card. I mean, it's a lost art of handwriting these days with everything that's digital. It's too easy just to send an email. Sending a written thank you card lets them know that you've taken the time to think about and appreciate their business. And that goes a long way as part of the experience. Webinar number 1 is in the books. I'd like to thank you for your time. Thank you for spending the last better part of an hour with me here at DynaSCAPE Software. If you'd like to keep the conversation going or you have questions, please reach out. My contact information is here. Our number is 1-800-710-1900. My direct extension is 279. You can get a hold of me directly. Don't call me now because I'm still on the line with everybody. Or directly, either direct to my line or to send me a text if you like. It's 905-639-9668. My email address is jsalemi@dynascape.com. Next week, in webinar 2, we're going to be talking about proven sales and marketing principles that lead to real wins. That's next Tuesday, November the 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much for spending the last better part of an hour with us. I hope you were able to get a couple of nuggets and take that back into your landscape businesses. Until next week, thank you so much. Looking forward to it.